Unforgiving Ross-Abian Desert.
Good morning, welcome to Coulee Outdoors. I'm your host, Brandon Scott, and with me is nobody today. Solo trip. It is a Sunday, but it's a solo trip. People are busy, so yeah. Where are we? We are in the CLumbia National Wildlife Refuge, which is a whole bunch of BLM land chunks south and west of Moses Lake in central Washington, kind of along the main portion of the Crab Creek drainage as it leaves the Moses Lake area and heads due west along the base of the Saddle Mountains towards the Columbia River. There are hikes in the area that are in books, but today's adventure isn't going to be a hike on a trail per se, because I'm in the Drumheller Channels. Technically, I think it's called the Crab Creek Marsh Unit number 3. If you want to look up the parking spot, yeah, Crab Creek Marsh Unit number 3 is the technical parking lot that'll show up on Google Maps, but I'm not at the very end of the road. I'm about 1,200 feet, 1,000 feet back towards the paved road, up the dirt road from there. If you park at the end of the road, you can go walk north along the decommissioned portion of the road towards Black Lake. There's Sullivan Lakes, I think, is on the other side of the road. And then I'll show you books here in a little bit. But then further up north from here is Goose Lakes, which you can hike to. It's in all the desert hiking books for Washington. But I'm not here to go to lakes today. I mean, I might go walk up to Black Lake. Probably will. But at least this first portion, I'm going to be walking out that direction to see that. The most perfect basalt columns just about you can find anywhere. This is called the Drumheller Channels section of the CLumbia Wildlife Refuge, made famous by oh no, I can't think of his name, and I don't have enough service to look at Facebook, but I'll put his name in the caption. He's the one that originally found it. Oh my goodness, crap, he puts on talks about the great floods and stuff all the time. I can't think of him. Not Nick. Nick found out about it from him, I think, and Nick is the one who actually brought me out here back in 2017 as part of my field class, Geology 351. There's a Seattle Times reporter that came out for that, and so if you look up Seattle Times articles on Nick, they wrote, this is where we came out with the reporter. They took a bunch of pictures, they wrote an article. You can see me in some of the pictures they use. The one they usually use, show Nick squatting, talking to all of us, and there's a picture being shot through people in the background, and my hand is in the picture, but in a different shot, you can see me standing in the background. Anywho, this is that spot. We're here to go look at columns, and I'm here to go look at desert wildflowers, and I can see a lot. I can see big yellow clumps, which are going to be some balsam root. I can see purpley stuff, which I know I did see some lupins along the highway, so that could be some lupins. There's going to be phlox out here, the bright purpley stuff. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. It's about 50 degrees and partly cloudy right now, but I can feel the sunshine. It is warm. Let's just go ahead and show you books. So, this isn't an actual hike in any of the books, just this one in particular. 55 hikes in central Washington. The closest one is going to be Blythe Lake, and actually even closer, probably the more famous of the hikes, Crab Creek trails, the Crab Creek Marsh. You park further east of here, and also Goose Lake's Plateau. Goose Lakes are probably 3 miles directly north of us if I wanted to walk along the road, but the actual hike starts off a road northeast of here, and you walk west to Goose Lakes. Same thing over here, Desert Hikes of Washington. Closest one is Goose Lake Plateau. Looks like that. And then for wildflower hikes, best wildflower hikes, again, the closest one is Blythe Lake and Coulee. And yeah, so we're going to go find some wildflowers. Don't know how long this is going to be. I'll track it on iHike, and I'll let you know how long my wandering is going to be. But I'm going to make a loop from here, and I'm going to go around, and that's the main showstopper over there. I'm going to go up and around and get on top of that, come back around, walk up the road to Rex, probably bring Rex back down to the actual very end of the road, and then probably go walk over to Black Lake and see what we got here. Because it's springtime. It's late April. Springtime gorgeousness. Flowers, birds, It did sprinkle here yesterday afternoon, so everything's nice and green and got nice and moistened. And yeah, we'll go find some cool stuff to hang out at. Rex is hanging out there. Oh, so this is I should probably make sure that's displayed properly. So this is a national wildlife refuge, not a state wildlife refuge. So make sure, I didn't see any signage when I drove in that you needed to display your passes, but that's a Discover Pass for state lands. That's not what you need. If you need, I mean, this is what I have, the America the Beautiful Pass. $80 a year, gets me into any national lands, parks. So national parks, national forests, national wildlife refuges, however many times I want. I didn't see anything that I needed to have it displayed, but I'm going to display it anyway. That way I don't get the ticket. But yeah, so the road finishes up down there. If you want to go to Black Lake first instead, you can park down there and then continue walking north. Rex is parked here. The highway's back that way, less than a mile. As you can see, the road is nicely taken care of. The first time we came up here, I remember Nick talking about it wasn't this nice, so maybe the fact that Nick has made this area slightly more famous than some of the other trails nearby, that they're making sure the road's in good condition. I did see signage about this not being open between October 1st and March 1st. I don't know if that's just not open to vehicles or if it's not open to anybody because wildlife refuge, winter birds and such. But I know a lot of these hikes are, the best time to come out here and do it is in the winter to see all the wintering birds. So I don't know. I'll have to look that up. And having this guy's name on the tip of my tongue, but not being able to actually know it, and not having good enough service to look it up on Facebook is going to bug me, so I'll put his name down there. But yeah, I mean, it's gorgeous. It's nice. It's going to be a pleasant morning. That is our main goal. I will take a long exposure of those columns when we get over there, especially since it looks like the sun's going to be actually behaving itself. I might take a long exposure of a good clump of flowers if I can find them. And then there's also a overlook over there somewhere where the road comes down. Yeah, you can see where the road comes down. Somewhere over there's an overlook, and I might take a long exposure of an overlook over there too. And if I go over to Black Lake, I'll do that too. It's not without risk being out here. Springtime means there's always the risk of ticks. I sprayed my stuff with permethrin. I highly recommend you at least spray yourself with regular DEET bug spray, if not permethrin, because it is an insecticide and you may have funny feelings about chemicals in this day and age, because people flip out about chemicals in this day and age. But so yeah, spray yourself, spray your clothes, and then make sure you check yourself when you get done so you don't take anybody home. And then the other thing is, with it being springtime, the rattlesnakes are coming out of their dens. So make sure you're always alert for that, especially when you get into the rocky areas, because that's where their dens are. But rattlesnakes aren't the only snakes that are out here. They're the only ones that you gotta watch out for. Wild dandelion variant. Don't know what this is, but I do have my wildflower book in my back pocket. Don't know exactly what that is either. You can see somebody else walked over here. It did rain last night, and I did see a bunch of deer prints in the side of the road where I parked. Oh, that's pretty. And the nice thing about having a modern phone is I can do this, especially with service. Open up my photos, and oh, come on, there it is. It is larkspur. Yes, it is the larkspur. I thought so. Haha. I'll have to look up specifically what kind of larkspur it is, but it's larkspur. Sweet. Happy boy, happy boy, happy boy. So we're out here to see wildflowers and pretty rocks. Now, if you don't like walking out in the desert, I mean, this is a pretty cool part of the desert, but if you don't like looking at rocks, then I don't know what to tell you. So this might not be super interesting for everybody, but it's super fun and interesting to me. And I think I'm just going to roll the camera until we walk right up to the rocks, because it's not going to take that long. And then we'll stop, and I'll deploy the tripod and take a long exposure of the rocks, and then we'll probably go walk on top of the rocks, find our way up over there somewhere if I remember right, stand on top, look around, go down on the backside, walk around some more, see if we find any of the rocks, find some more flowers. Ooh, here's a clump of phlox, I think. Deploy camera, get picture of pretty flower in the sunshine. Open up phone, open up, it is phlox, yep, and continue walking. I should just take a picture of whatever the heck this thing is too. Probably would be a good idea, so I can tell you in real time what this is too. Would you enjoy that, YouTube? Come on. Open. Yes, I know that's larkspur. I know that's phlox. Jim Hill mustard. Oh, it's wild mustard. Cool. Cool. And of course, I'll check my wildflower book and wildflower websites to confirm. But cool. More flowers over there. And I'm assuming there's going to be a bunch of good flowers on the back shady side where water gets retented a little better. But yeah, and I should take a short here pretty soon too. Ooh, yeah, we're gonna be here. We are here for the flowers and for the rocks. And it smells good too, because it rained last night. Everything's nice and wet and moist. The grasses and sages were able to do their photosynthesis thing very good, and so it smells amazing. But you see all the phlox hiding underneath the sage. Oh man, yeah. Okay, so we should take this short right now. Walking along the sagebrush scablands of Drumheller Channels in the CLumbia National Wildlife Refuge to come stare at rocks and wildflowers. Mainly the prettiest chunks of basalt you ever would see. So we got the darker blue is larkspur, the pale purpley is phlox. These occasional really tall will get really tall. It's going to be mustard. We're going to walk along here and try and find ourselves some more. Bitch. Yeah, I mean, even with the delays of me showing you flowers, it's taken me less than 10 minutes of walking to get over here. And we are at this amphitheater. So you got the tall mustard. Don't know what that is. That looks kind of weed-like to me. As in, it's non-native, not as in 420 blaze it. You got phlox over there. So now, I'm pretty much going to try and find me a good spot to set up my tripod and hang out and get video of a rock, wildflower, and birdsong in the background. And then we'll go up over there, get on top, see what we can find on top, drop down on the other side, come back to Rex, take Rex to the other parking spot, and go to Black Lake. Now, we shall go wander up into the column. Got done taking a long exposure. Look at the column. Somewhere in here I'll get a bit and a thumbnail. But we're gonna go walk into that notch and get up on top, hang out on top, drop down the other side over on the Crab Creek side, walk along the edge of the marsh over there, come back up to Rex and move down. I know I didn't tag it yet, so I'll tag the long exposure I just took right. Oh, that's terrible. There. Good acoustics when you got a solid wall of rock to bounce stuff off of. Back up a couple of steps just so I can get the flowers in the shot while I'm walking. And now we'll head, I mean, there are faint trails, but most of this area gets such, even the quote-unquote famous Drumheller Channel spot, which you can literally scroll to this area on Google Earth, and Google Earth has that set of columns, place tags. You can click on it and then drive to it. But even that, there's so little consistent traffic that the trails are A, not established officially, and B, most of them are just bare hints of paths through the sage, which is nice. These columns are facing north instead of these columns are facing south, so they get more sun, more heat, less moisture retention, so they don't have hardly any moss growing on them. Whereas these columns here that we're going to go walk in between are on the north, so they should have, looks like they have more moss and such on them. Drop the phone down, or not the phone, the GoPro down to get some larkspur with the columns. Raise back up. Look at all the flocks there in the sage. And then we'll go, ooh, and I see some balsam root clumps as we ascend over here. Yes. Victory dance. I think there's two different kinds of larkspur out here. There's the really dark blue stuff hiding amongst the sage, and then there's some lighter purpley stuff. Like, I think that larkspur is different to some of the larkspur hiding deeper in the sage. But there's, I think it's called a bee flower, I think. I should go take a picture of it so I can identify it later. Being aware of snakes. Oh, you got 3 different flowers hiding in here. I think that's called a bee flower. You got bee flower, I think, larkspur, phlox, all hiding underneath the sage. Pretty dang sweet. I'm just going to keep this rolling, and this might become a long video with no pauses and no edits, but I'm okay with that because this is not something we normally go do, and that is my fault. This is, I think, year 3 of the channel. The anniversary was not too long ago. I believe this is year 3, and it's called Coulee Outdoors, and the background for the profile picture, there's a bee there, that's what I'm looking at. The background for the profile picture where I have the Coulee Outdoors in teal, the background basalt column tops are literally taken from up there, which is also where literally Nick dropped his hammer in between the columns. This is the famous columns for everything that I know of. And it's taken me 3 years to come back out here. But that's okay. I'm out here now, right? So yeah, there's a lot more lighter colored lichen growing on the columns over there because they're on the north side. And yeah, the Tootsie Rolls, baby. The dang Tootsie Rolls of the chocolate cake is just so pretty. And as we ascend up here, I can see different yellow flowers, and I think they're balsam root. I'm pretty sure they're balsam root. which is good because I was wondering if there was going to be A, them up here, and B, if they were flowering yet. But we're only at like 900 feet of elevation in the desert, so by late April, which it is the last couple of days of April, stuff should be blooming, and as you can tell, it is blooming. So crickets in the talus. So now we will ascend, hopefully not find a snake. Well, hopefully we'll find a snake, just not with our feet. But I'm literally 10-15 minutes of walking away from where I parked Rex. This is easy to access. That's why Nick brings classes of students out here, because it's easy to access. I mean, it's a 3-hour drive from Seattle, but it's a less than an hour and a half drive from Ellensburg, and it's then 10 minutes walking on pretty much flat ground. So I'm gonna come over here and investigate the flowers. Pretty sure, yes, these are balsam root, arrowleaf. Unless I'm just really dumb and I've been calling them by the completely wrong name this entire time, and they're just starting to pop out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'd be really upset if I've been calling them by the wrong name this entire time. Have just enough service to confuse my phone to say plant, yes, and then it looks up the plant. Sometimes it'll tell you the common name, and sometimes it'll give you its Latin name. And of course, I'm not a botanist, so I don't know what the heck Latin names are. But again, when we stop up here up top, I'll whip out the wildflower book and cross-reference stuff and check things. But the larkspur, the dark blue larkspur, the really big dark blue one that hides amongst the sagebrush, is called sage larkspur, aka common larkspur. And there's like 10 different kinds of larkspur growing around here. And it is Big Jim mustard, and then the phlox has a specific name. I forgot what it was. I just have to look it up. I took pictures of where it is in the book. Now we're up top. Interesting how the balsam root's going only there. Got some sort of daisy-like flower that appears to be growing in profusion up here. So let's get a spot of it where my shadow is not taking up the good sunlight and I can still get a picture of it. Now we're going to walk along the edge of the basalt columns. Get a picture of plant. Camera looking at plant while taking a picture of plant. Yes. And now, take a picture of this. And this is the money stuff. Walking along the edge like this. One of these columns. Big beetle. Big beetle. Big beetle. It's about the 6th or 7th one I've seen. Walk along the tops of the columns. Feet for scale. Down below. This. One of these columns. Nick dropped his hammer on video for a PBS episode, and it made the cut. Oh my goodness. That is a very big beetle there too. Where is it? There it is. Right there. And then somebody came up from because you know, Nick's got thousands of people that watch his geology live streams. Eventually somebody came up with a magnet on a string, dropped the magnet down, and pulled the hammer out of the exact spot it came from. Ooh, look at the air. You can see the air. Air gaps. Woo! There's not a lot on some of these columns. But somebody did fish it out and gave it back to him, and he has it mounted, in his office, which is, I think that's hilarious. I remember sitting right here and him giving us a good lecture about things, so yeah, this is sweet. I don't care. I'm at almost half an hour video already. That's fine. Totally fine with that. I'm just gonna walk along the edge of the columns, seeing what we can see. And not a lot of flowers up here near the edge because there's not a lot of dirt, because it all gets filtered through the cracks back here. Feels good to be back here. You can still see Rex. Let's see here. Got that bright patch there. Problem is he's red and it's a red environment, but he's right there pretty much. Just gonna keep walking along the columns because it's cool. I'm cool. Hopefully the fuzzy mic's doing its job and there's not too much wind noise. I'm sure there is wind noise because it's blowing 10 to 15 up here. But the fuzzy mic's supposed to be able to withstand 15 to 20 without too much noise. So hopefully you just hear a light instead of the deafening you hear on an exposed mic like on the phone. But yeah, we're gonna go wander over here. There's a whole bunch more mustard sticking out up top. I can see some phlox chunks over there. We're just gonna keep walking along this. Park ourselves up here, look along that, look back along that. It's freaking sweet, dudes and dudettes. It's sweet. That ridgeline behind us is the Saddle Mountains, and that exists because of the San Andreas Fault down in California, smushing us into Canada, called clockwise rotation. So you get the folds. And if you want to hear someone who's been talking about it for most of their professional career, because Nick's been here since 92 or 97 or something, he's been teaching about it for most of then. Small daisies are out here. I'm serious, go look at his stuff. He's got a whole bunch of stuff on his personal YouTube page, Nick Zentner. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Old Nick on the Rocks stuff, 2-Minute Geology. PBS runs his stuff all the time. I mean, the man's a literal wealth of knowledge. And if you really want to, I think he still does it. Now that the pandemic's been over with, but I think you can still go sit in on his lectures. And usually it's just the intro to geology classes because you technically need to take a test to go pass the intro to geology classes and enjoy the other ones. But you can go sit on his intro classes and listen to him talk about geology. Introduction to geology, and then I took the introduction to Pacific Northwest geology. So it's intro to geology, but it focuses on the stuff you can see and learn and go find out here. You know, so when he talks about volcanoes, Mount Rainier. When he talks about basalt, talks about the flood basalts. Talks about river systems, so talk about the Columbia or the Yakima River, you know. Oh my goodness, this is just so cool. I've missed this. Shut up and walk. Do I dare make that leap? Woo-hoo, that's a lot of air. Whoa. Officially do not advise YouTube, because this column is got a little bit of friction there. Otherwise, there is nothing frictioning it to anybody else. It is by itself. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, baby. Always have an out. I'm ready to jump back over here at a second's notice. Bolts for climbing. Oh, I'm really tempted to go stand on that one, but Sabrina would probably really kill me, and that one's already leaning, so I think I'll avoid that one. Yeah, baby. But I mean, okay, so here, let's find. See, now there's not really a good hexagonal. This one's a 5-sided one, but here, we'll stand there, and that's me foot for scale, as you can see. There's a good 6-sided one right here. Foot for scale. These are big columns. I mean, this is what, 3 feet, and these are 3 feet across on average, and it's probably a good 25-30 foot drop down just to the talus slope, and that's just stuff that's eroded off in the last 15,000 years when the floods came through. So it probably goes all the way down to the flat, so it's probably 50 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet actual height, and this is just one flow. Like I was saying in an earlier video, we're not too far away from the Tri-Cities, which is the deepest part, when the oil companies came through in the 70s to drill and look for oil, and they had to drill down in Tri-Cities. I'm sure it's less here, but there you can see Rex much better now. Right there. But they had to drill up to 15,000 feet of basalt. Do that to get to non-basalt, where some oil and gas would be hiding. Here we're a little further away, so I'm sure it's more like 10,000 feet, but still, that's 2 miles of this stuff spreading across from northeastern Oregon, along the Oregon, Nevada, Idaho border zone, all the way out here, and another almost 100 miles further west to Ellensburg. So there's a lot of basalt. Brought to you by the Yellowstone caldera when it came through. The Yellowstone hotspot when it came through. Alright, so we're just about the end. And here's a securement line for the climbing route. So can we see bolts going down? No, but I know I did see some from the bottom when I was hanging out over here. Pretty sure it was over here. Pretty sure. Okay. We're just about to the point, and then we'll look over onto Main Crab Creek. Might take a video from up here too, looking towards Crab Creek. What are we at? 17 minutes on this chunk, and I take probably 15 minutes on the first couple of chunks. So yeah, we're at better than half an hour of video. Oops. Oh well, this is cool stuff. This is one of the more cool and unique things of Washington. One of the cooler spots to see it. So yeah, ravens goofing around. So this is the end. I got the point over there. Crab Creek flows through that marshy area, and I think the main stuff of it's actually over there. But Rex is over there. The end of the road proper is down there. You walk through that marsh, and just over there on the other side of that next buttress with even more cool columns is going to be Black Lake, and then Goose Lakes is further that way. Moses Lake is over there. Othello is that way. That's a cool shot too. So, come over here, look onto the north side of some of these columns, walk on some of these columns on the north end. And I remember there being a way to get down over here, and then when I was here last time with Nick, I just kind of cruised back over to Rex, and then we'll go to Black Lake maybe. Or I'll just hang out, turn the camera off and hang out up top, sit up on a column. About lunchtime too, isn't it? It's 11? Yeah, 10:55. So I can have a nice, slightly early lunch and hang out on top of a basalt column somewhere. Probably right here would be a good spot, and look that direction. Maybe. I don't know if I'll set up a camera. But these are nice big fat. I mean, here's a good one. That's a nice big fat column. Get my stomach out the way. Yeah, so I think I'll turn it off and find a spot to hang out and have some lunch. My nice little notch step down hid me out of some of the wind. Sat there for the last 2-ish hours reading, having lunch. Now let's continue walking along the top of the columns for a bit because exciting. Stand on the point. Oh god. Oh god, that. Oh, no, and we're done with that. The vertigo gets to me just a little bit thinner width of columns, not width, but like how much until the dirt takes over on this side. It's also on the north side, so there's a bit more lichen and stuff. I'm sure there's a heck of a lot more when we get down below. I'm just walking this way till I find a break back here somewhere to bounce off down, and then we'll walk through that glorious tall sagebrush flat down there, looking back up into these columns, and head back to Rex and probably head home. So I did take another long exposure there. I was debating on whether or not I was going to, but that view is just a little too cool. And at the time, I had all those poofy clouds rolling through, so it made for a nice backdrop, and it wasn't quite as windy. Oh, look at the curve bend out. And that one, I need to get a picture of that one too. But you can see the vegetation is starting to creep back in, so we should be able to cross and get down here pretty soon. Need to get a little closer for the phone camera to pick that up, and maybe the GoPro to pick it up better too. But anyway, I did take a long exposure there, so I'll post that there. And then when I get further down back onto the bottomlands, I will talk about going to Black Lake and Goose Lakes in the near future. But columns have ran out, so now I'm gonna go find a way down. Well, I was going to leave the camera off on my descent and not start filming it until I got down on the bottom, but down here in this draw, as I'm starting to ascend, I found a hell of a lot of larkspur. I mean, a lot of larkspur. And the sage is getting nice and tall, which is always fun. There's Crab Creek, I'm pretty sure, is what drains through here, unless it's over there more. But yeah, mustard and a whole bunch of larkspur and some phlox. Showing a bit up again now that we're getting on a more protected area. Look at all that larkspur. That's nice. That is nice. So we will pick our way down. And I guess I'm just going to record as we walk through. Phlox, larkspur, some dandelion thing. Unzip my collar on my shirt to get some airflow now that I'm not trying to hide in the wind and be stationary. And drop into the sagebrush. Oh, it smells so damn good. Oh, it smells so good. And it's going to be nice and tall, thick, old growth sagebrush, being careful not to step on wildflowers. And boom, columns. So I'm going to try and stay fairly close to the column front. But I also want to walk through the deep sage, because walking through the deep sage is fun. So I'll just follow this trail everybody else between the people and the deer have put in too. Careful not to step on the phlox or the larkspur. Oh yeah. And I think this is all I'm going to do today. So I'll get a couple of minutes of walking through this tall sagebrush, and then I'll run the outro and stare at the columns. Actually, I'll just run it right now. Thank you for joining me on this Coulee out. Well, see, I wanted to save it to have a chapter of walking through the sagebrush, but that's okay. Do I want to do flower spotting, or do I just want to walk through the sagebrush? Because I saw some larkspur over there. I think I'm just going to walk. See, that's the indecisiveness, is I wanted to not talk for a bit to get walking through the sagebrush and have an outro and separate chapters on YouTube. But this is okay. I think this should be fine. We're just going to kind of pick our way through the sagebrush. There was a trail that I could see from up top that hopefully I can find and stick to. If not, I'm just wandering through the sagebrush. That was a loud squeak from somebody. I think that was a squirrel of some sort. That's pretty though. Too bad the sun's at such a low schmangle. And the clouds are there, so it's going to be hard for the camera to figure out what it wants to focus on. That should be decent. Alright, run your long exposure. Not your long exposure, run your outro, dang it, boy. Thank you for joining me on this Coulee Outdoors adventure. For once in the desert, in the namesake coulees of Coulee Outdoors. Walking along into the amphitheater and along the hook of Drumheller Channels in the Crab Creek Marsh unit of the CLumbia National Wildlife Refuge, where we looked at some pretty basalt columns, birds, listened to bird song, and enjoyed the wildflowers. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Either way, please leave a comment down below what you did or did not like about it so I can improve the videos for next time. Oh, I didn't tag. Dang it. I can do it if I'm going to do that. I can tag those videos at the end. Pretty flocks. That's actually a really good one. I should get that with the sun on this angle and get a good picture of this one. Oh, yeah. That's good. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like, give it a thumbs down. Leave a comment, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to continue trying to bounce back and forth between river walks and desert walks for the rest of spring, which is still 2 months. But once you get into June, it gets kind of hot out here in the desert. So as we transition to June, probably be less desert and more. See, look at all the lichen on the columns on this side. True north, no sun getting on them. Stays just a tad bit cooler and damper. So yeah, we'll transition more and more to, and also higher elevation as the spring goes on into summer. What's next? River. If we're going to a river, what will be next? Could be the Lewis River waterfalls before it gets to permit season, which I think is mid-May. Solduck River, North Fork Sauk River are the three I can roll off the tippy top of my head. Maybe a rainforest river like the Hoh or the Bogoshiel, or the other fork of the Quinault we haven't gone up yet. As for a desert, there's other things we can do out here. There's the Goose Lakes Trail. We can go walking along the sand dunes or paddling along the sand dunes over at Moses Lake. There's the two White Bluffs trails just south of here along Hanford Reach. There's lots of things to go do. But specifically over here next, I will tag walking to Black Lake once we get back to the road. But the main ones over here are Blythe Lake, which I'll tag right there. And then, I just said it, Goose Lake's Plateau, yeah. Yeah, those are the two other main ones to do around here, along with paddling on Moses Lake, but that's a little different than what we're doing. Wow, that phlox grew. Is it growing within the sagebrush? Kind of looks like it. But those are the close ones. So I'll tag Goose Lakes right there, and I think that'll make my 5 video limit for this one. Then of course there's a bunch of other ones. Hopefully we'll get some paddling in yet. So if I walk straight across this bit of grass, which I'm not too worried about it because it's rye. I think it's wild rye. It's either rye or bunch grass, but it's native grass and it's fairly resistant. And I don't think we'll be blazing a trail by just one person walking along it. Say goodbye to the amphitheater. And yeah, I think that'll be just about it. I got the 2 long exposures. Oh, I want to talk about, I can walk to Lower Goose Lakes via Black Lake from at the other end of the road over here, which I can tag right there, and I think that'll be 5 for sure. For sure. Pick my way between the sagebrush, avoiding the clumps of larkspur, along the, excuse me, mushroom, back to the main trail, and there's the other side. Back in the amphitheater over there, but we're not doing that. We're going back to Rex. So yeah, other than that, we'll see you when we see you next time. Hopefully it won't be 2 weeks like it was between these two adventures, but you never know with my work schedule. I had 3 days off in these last 2 weeks before today, but they weren't all really days off. They were half days off after having an overnight job where I worked till 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning. I was like, all right, you don't do the other jobs for the rest of the day. You get the day off. So what did I do? I slept because I've been having a whole bunch of overnight jobs. So caught up on enough sleep last night after having an overnight job the night before. So I could have come out and done something yesterday too, but oh well. I'm trying to get out here as much as possible, no matter how I'm feeling or how sleep deprived I am, but sometimes you just can't. You're just too wiped out to be doing anything, even coming out here. But that's okay. We'll hit the hammer more as summer moves along and as more and more things open up. But otherwise, thanks for joining me and enjoying the channel. Hope you are enjoying the channel and the videos. And yeah, if you have any ideas where you want me to go next, that may or may not be in a list, we can talk about it. Have a good one, and ciao. Do I even get that side of me? There we go. Hey, look, there's Rex.